All right, everyone, thanks for being here tonight. My name is Jeff Dees. I am your seventh grade administrator and host for tonight's presentation on Zoom here. Obviously, wish we could be in person for this gathering. Hopefully in the future, we met together for large gatherings together in the conference room or in the auditorium or in our school in some large setting. But at this point, hopefully Zoom can do enough to answer questions for now in advance of seventh grade, which starts for your child in August. I am joined by Miss Dominique, who will say hello in a second. She's our principal. And so a little part about our school structure, so you know today, you will meet myself and Miss Dominique. Miss Dominique is our principal of WJHS. I oversee seventh grade. You may already know or will meet soon Eric Reeses. He oversees eighth grade. So we both fulfill kind of the Susie Carlson role you have at Highcrest currently. We fulfill that role at WJHS in a very similar capacity. So let's go first, introducing ourselves. Now we'll defer now to our principal, Ms. Dominique, to say hello to ourselves. Ms. Dominique, good to have you here tonight.
Thanks for having me, Mr. Dees. Welcome, everyone. We are very excited to have your children join us at the junior high school next year. It is an exciting transition and probably a little bit nerve-wracking, but we have a lot of fun at the junior high school. This is it will be my third year as the principal at Wilmette Junior High School. I arrived here in July of 2020, which was a very interesting time to join a new school. I was a principal for 3 years in San Diego Unified School District and a vice principal for 2 years there at, oddly enough, a school partnership that is exactly the same as Highcrest and Wilmette Junior High. I was the vice principal at a 5-6. And then the next week I went over where I was a vice principal at a 7-8, and I went back and forth. And so I'm familiar with the structure we have in Wilmette. I'm originally from Northwest Ohio. I went to school at Ohio State, so I'm a third generation and very strong Buckeye. And I was a 7th and 8th grade English teacher before I became a high school counselor. I was an international baccalaureate coordinator, and then, as I already mentioned, a vice principal and a principal. So outside of school, my family has a lake cottage in Northeast Indiana, and so I love to spend my summers at the lake and just really being with my family and my friends, and especially now that I'm not in San Diego anymore, enjoying the summers when the weather's nice. So anyway, I will pass you back off to Mr. Dees, but please know that the junior high school is very supportive. We know that when your children come to our school that there are some nerves there. And so we do everything we can to make the transition as smooth as possible.
Ms. Dominique, thank you for being here tonight. Again, it's a pleasure working with her and Mr. Reeses. I will say a little about myself before I start with the presentation tonight. It is my 5th year, or will be my 5th year, as seventh grade administrator at WJHS. I know Wilmette very well. I was at Loyola Academy for a decade prior to being here, so not far down the road, where I taught social studies, economics, variety of classes, also department chair, and was a lacrosse coach there. So I know the area very well in that regard. I'm also an Ohioan by birth. I'm from the Cleveland area. I came here to go to school at Northwestern and really never left it behind. Some graduate degrees from various schools around the Midwest. But now I spend my time in Wilmette and in Glenview, basically, where I spend time at home with my wife and 2 young sons who are 2 and 8 months old. So you probably can imagine it's a busy life for me at home and at work. But when I do have free time, I love to hang out with my family and grill and play sports and just relax and enjoy nice nights like tonight when I'm not doing webinars. I love to be outside on nights like tonight, enjoying the weather and spend time with my family outside at our house. So let's get to why you're here tonight, learning about 7th grade at Wilmette Junior High School. Want to say first to you that there is a Q&A button on the bottom of your screen. At any point you have a question, you can type it in there. I'll answer Q&As at the end of the session, but you can anytime put a question in that box and it will get answered at the end of the presentation when we finish all the slides. So I want to make sure you know what we're doing tonight so I can give you a sense of what we're hoping to achieve in this presentation. I want to have a quick sense of kind of the transition timeline from Highcrest to WJHS. I want to know a little bit more about kind of life at our school for rising 7th grader and how we, teachers, staff, administration, support your child when they're at our building. I want to let you know kind of how you can be involved in our school as well in the year ahead. I want to let you know, obviously, we are hoping to get towards a usual school year, whatever that means after the past couple of years. So everything that I cover in today's presentation will assume a usual transition to school. I think we're getting close to that in many regards. I'd say a couple of things related to lunch and cafeteria are still TBD with that. So if you have questions about some protocols, health and safety wise, I may still say to be determined in this conversation today, but we are going to proceed in this conversation as things are normal in August 2022. So what is the process for transition from Highcrest to WJHS? You got from me an email back in April asking for your input on placement. I got over 200 responses, so I know it was well received, and I appreciate your input on placement. If you did not get that email, or you're a new student, or for some reason it got lost in your inbox, just email me. My email will be at the end of the presentation, and I can help you provide your input on placement in advance of our work to do that. We basically just started placement today, honestly, working for placing students. So if we don't have your input yet, it is okay. We want to have it sooner rather than later to get to that finishing point of placing kids in homerooms. When it starts in earnest after June 9th, when kids depart our building this year, we have a lot more time to focus on it in June, July, and August to prepare for next year's schedules that get released to you on August 17th via email. On that date, you will receive your child's homeroom teacher, and from that point, you'll know kind of what team they're on and what teachers they'll generally have, and then where to go first day of school. We do have orientation events in mid-August. I have TBD for now because the calendar is challenging next year, and that we have teacher training days Thursday, Friday in advance of the first day of school on Monday, August 22nd. Usually we have kids come to the building on that Friday, but many of you will probably be on vacation at that point still, and school starts Monday. So we're working through kind of some options for how to provide orientation style events for kids in advance of school. We will have that opportunity for your child for sure. It's just taking a little more planning right now, and with everything else going on with the school year, that's not finalized yet. But please know we will have orientation style events for your child in advance of the first day of school on August 22nd. And in mid-September, there is a curriculum night where you will learn more about your child's teachers and school community. Unknown if that'll be in person or on Zoom at this time. Obviously, I know it's great to meet your child's teachers in person and walk the halls in person. I hope we're in a place in September that we could do that. But obviously, at this point in time, we've had Zoom the past couple of years. It's been good, but nothing beats the in-person feel of seeing your child's school and seeing your teachers in the flesh, and we fully appreciate that. So that is our schedule for transition from April to September. We look forward to really being a part of this transition to make your child feel supported and welcomed and part of this community. And obviously, you're part of the work too with your input in the placement process, which happens now through the month of June, July, and August. So when your child gets placed in a team for WJHS, what does that mean? I know you have at Highcrest, you have houses, you have teams, all these words get kind of synonymous. So what does it mean at our building? We have 3 teams, 7A, 7B, and 7C. Please know those letters mean nothing. They are just heterogeneous groups of learners who are put together of all different, classes and courses and whatever you want to call it. There is no leveling or tracking in those teams. And so in those 3 groupings, there are 5 core teachers who teach reading, writing, math, science, and social studies, as well as LBS paired with that team. And those students travel between that group to those 5 core classes. They mix and mingle throughout all 5. So I know when your child was younger, you were placed in a homeroom and that group kind of stayed together all day long. That does not happen at WJHS. They're placed in a homeroom that's on a team, let's say 7A, but that homeroom students will mix and match with other 7A kids throughout the day in their 5 core classes. They'll have unteam classes too, or non-team classes, which will be part of their day. On the right-hand side, you'll see there is PE, creative arts, world language, or academic strategies class, and lunch recess, obviously not a class, but part of the day. Those 4 parts of the day are non-team classes. So if your child is on 7A and has a couple of friends in 7B, please know that there is ample time to see those kids in the day. All of our kids eat lunch recess together. And then our PE, arts, language, AS classes are all intermixed across teams. So you're building towards that sense where in high school they'll have, 4,000 kids that go to New Trier, all mixing and matching across the school building. We have kind of a dual approach. We have the team, which gives a smaller feel, but also PE, arts, language, AS, lunch recess, which brings them all together, which gives more that bigger feel. So, but the team is a great place to start because it gives support and structure and builds foundations and relationships for kids, not just in content classes, but also, a lot of focus on social emotional learning and how we build community in classes. All of us right now are very aware of the importance of community in school settings, given events we see in our world and given the impact of the pandemic. Having ways we connect kids together in meaningful ways is a super important part of our day. And every Thursday, homeroom is 40 minutes long to allow a deeper time for classes to make those connections and more of that social emotional focus rather than just always academics across the core classes. Always big question in families' minds about homework. As you go up the ladder of the educational spectrum, you hear more about homework increasing. I would say honestly, in our school, there is a focus though in make sure homework is meaningful and purposeful for students. So I would say to you first and foremost that beyond any time frame, I would hope that you see your child's homework as meaningful and valuable uses of their time. It should involve, readings for classes, a mix of short-term and long-term assignments, some regular study for classes and review. We think an average to take about an hour to a bit over an hour per night. If you are seeing your child taking excessively long for homework or way beyond that, please email your homeroom teacher, your team teacher, and ask what can be done to modify the structure, because that's not our belief in school, that child should be having homework of that length. You are an important part of this process. So obviously you have a resource called Schoology at Highcrest. We use the same tool here at WJHS where teachers post assignments on Schoology so you know what's being assigned to them at home. So please know that's always an option for you to look at when you're working with your child's teachers and with them to know what the assignment is and what they're supposed to do. And even in a sense, how long it should take is also posted sometimes. We also believe that students, really need to kind of know what we expect of them in the school building. At Highcrest, there was a Hawks code. We don't have a Wolves code, but the same thing exists here. We just have 4 words, which are part of our school structure and code for students, that we are safe, responsible, respectful, and inclusive. The picture on the right shows me, I go to every homeroom in the fall, in the first weeks of school, and have a presentation to kids about how do we live this in school. We play a game about my life, get to know me a little more, get to know them a little bit, and try to be a fun way to engage in conversations about how do we live these things in school. I will say that in this chart there, the blue things are more COVID things. We don't usually have, masks on here optional now. Social distancing is part of a kind of a past structure. So those aren't really part of our annual traits that we adhere to in school. But obviously things about how we use proper language, how we exhibit pride in our school environment, how we are safe at all times are very important parts of our day. And we really value your role in the process to help reinforce it. If a child does not follow those protocols, that you help us keep them focused to being safe, responsible, respectful, and inclusive learners in our building. So obviously, as you're fully aware, technology is a big part of learning in the 21st century. You have seen iPads in your child's hands for many years in Dean 39. That has not stopped. At JHS only increases. We try to build in new technologies beyond that, things like, VR and AR devices in classes, robotics in coding classes, 3D printers, think called a Glowforge, which is a fancy 3D printer, trying to build ways in which kids can use this technology across the spectrum. Seeing them build monuments with 3D printers in socialized classes, seeing them use VR to experience, past civilizations in a Latin class, trying to find ways in which, we can show kids that technology is not just for TikTok or Snapchat or Discord, or name the app of the day. It has many learning purposes. We want to make sure that kids know those, focusing on a consistent basis in classrooms. For that reason, we have 2 tech specialists on staff whose sole job is to help our staff continually grow and plan on how to use technology within their classrooms. So to help our staff know that this app would be great for this project to do in class, or this way to use the printer will really enhance your work in this. So that kids experience this, and hopefully by the time they leave here, can go to high school and say, I want to learn more about how to do it myself. I want to really learn how to code, or learn how to work this app to create great infographics, get my message out about X Club. It is a great tool that can learn at our building to go on to the next buildings that they have. And then from your end parents, obviously Schoology and PowerSchool are the big platforms you're going to know. Schoology for posting assignments and kind of what's happening in class on a daily basis, and PowerSchool for kind of your enrollments and your report cards and attendance and grades and those kind of functions. For supplies, you got an email from the PTO recently, a company called EduKits, about school supplies for next year. That is operated from the PTO, but obviously I can help you if I need to do so. Please make sure if you want school supplies that you purchase that school kit through EduKits, that then is delivered to the school in mid-August and waiting for your child first day of class in their homeroom. It is the best way to do a quick stop shop for you to just click, purchase, waiting for your kid on day 1 of school at WJHS. At this point, we don't use gym uniforms. That is being reviewed. If we do decide to bring those back for next year, you will purchase those on the district website through the RevTrack link that's on the main district webpage. Also, locks for gym class are also being purchased if we do that. But again, in a usual year, that happens, but we are still reviewing if we're going to bring back uniforms and locker rooms for next year at our school. Every child also has a hallway locker in the building. We provide locks for that. I will say to you as parents, we are seeing a lot of children this year have lockers but not use them. And then they say, my stuff is gone or something happened to it. And I ask the question, did you lock your stuff? I did not lock it. And I don't want to do that. There's not a prevailing thievery in our building. Please don't assume that. But children make decisions that are sometimes rash and inappropriate. And so we advise our kids to, if you have a lock, to please use it. And so as parents, please reinforce that message, whether at Highcrest or at WJHS, that if you have a locker for your materials, your cell phone, your things like that, to actually lock your locker so you know it's safe in your possession for after school usage. I would say also one last thing, we see a lot of use of like Apple Pencils, AirPods, technology is big in those areas for school supplies. Those things are expensive and get lost pretty easily. So whatever you can do to make sure that things are labeled, that if it's got a name, it's like clearly identified name. It says like, Stevens AirPods, not, like Jordan Fan 22, because that doesn't help us know who those things are for. So anything like that's technology like Apple Pencil, AirPods, etc. If you can make sure it's named in the way that your child can identify, that helps us to better identify who they are if it's lost in our building. A big part about our school is communicating with you so you know what's happening in our building on a daily basis. You get a weekly note from Kelly Jackson about highlights from Highcrest. The same thing happens here from Miss Dominique, a note every week with PTO notes and school notes, but highlights in our building so you can know what to prepare for in our setting. You'll get notes from me or Mr. Reeses about our programs, right? If you're in a math program or an orchestra or a band or a club that is more targeted to just you, we'll send notes about those kind of things so you can obviously know what to be mindful of in your work with your child. We do have a Twitter and Instagram page, HawkWolf39. Follow it at your leisure. Facebook, like most things, is being kind of phased out in the world. Kids don't use it. We don't use it as much, but we do still have the page. So if you want to join a Facebook page, you can certainly do so. Email is always the way to be in touch with us. You know how to do that for sure. And last, we do a lot of in-person Zoom meetings. One of the COVID silver linings has been the use of Zoom. Many of you are working professionals who have busy lives, and it's hard for you to leave your place of work to be here for a 20-minute conversation and go back to work. So we do use Zoom a lot to help us connect in those kind of quick conversations. We can be on the same page. But if you prefer in-person meeting, that always is welcomed. We are getting back now to the in-person meetings upon request for families, because we know it's a beneficial time to have that personal connection face to face, but also know that we will keep doing Zoom in the future because we know it benefits so many of you as working professionals, and the busy lives you have wherever you are might be, to balance our work with your work at the home or work setting. So we handle administratively more of kind of the school programmatic kind of things. The teacher side of things would be all more things where it's kind of course work. So emails about courses, Schoology pages, grades on Power School, interpersonal relationships in class. We will always go to the teacher first. If a parent comes to me and says, I'm hearing there's an issue in math class about how my child interacts with this kid, I'm going to say my first question, have you talked to the teacher? Because ultimately, all I'm going to be is third party between you and that person, between what's happening there. So we want to drive that conversation first to happen. And then we are here to support if need be for that work. Teachers are also via Zooms. We'll have curriculum night in person or via Zoom. We'll parent-teacher conferences in November as well. And always by request, we're here to communicate with you. We do want to, at this age range, begin to grow advocacy for kids. We want to prepare them for high school, where that's more of an expected behavior for a student. So it is kind of a balance of trying to have our learners grow on their own, while also including parents as part of the process in that work. So please know that if we don't reach out to you immediately as you might think so, like you were at Highcrest or your K-4 school, it's not us being secretive. It's us trying to coach your child to be a self-advocate, but always know you're part of the process. We want to help you be part of that to help him or her grow in their work at our school building. We have lots of great clubs and activities here in school. Actually, right before I was here, I was at an orchestra show from 7 o'clock to 7:30 tonight. It was a wonderful show of our orchestra. It was so talented in what they do every day, just as our band is. Our musical programs here are so incredible. Our kids do an amazing job with it. If your child does Highcrest band or orchestra, the same programs are happening here with some of the same teachers as well, Miss Hanson, Miss Blomar, Mr. Blomars, Miss Dufek. They happen before school for rehearsal. So that is one thing that you should be mindful of. If your orchestra or band is before school, 7:35 to 8:15. If your child's in a math program, also in the morning, we prepare for that. We're aware of that. We work with that. Otherwise, they have rehearsal, then 10 minutes, then school starts for the day. We have clubs, many after school, and hopefully in the lunchtime hour again going forward, ranging from Dungeons and Dragons, very popular club, to chess, Latin, film, student advisory board, ways we come to get kids involved in our community. And we're always looking for more ways to do that in our school setting. Also Science Olympiad, they're kind of separate because they have competitions they go to. So it's kind of a club / competitive enterprise, a Science Olympiad. We have some very dedicated students in those clubs, and we do super well in competitions and want to keep growing in the area. So if your child loves science, please consider Science Olympiad as a way to grow in their abilities in that at our school setting. In athletics, we have numerous sports here: cross country, wrestling, track and field hockey, dance team, basketball, soccer, and volleyball. Our goal is that every child be part of a club that they want to be part of, club or sport. If we do have many kids try out for a sport, there may be cuts sometimes, but we do all that we can to have every child be part of an activity. And we don't want to have cuts ever for sports. Only we have it if there are a number of kids try out, far more than we could ever have play in a game with a team or teams at that level. How do we support kids at this building? We have many ways we support students at this building, some of which you know from Highcrest, some of which might be new to your knowledge of our school setting at WJHS. We do have a homework club after school. Homework club is an optional resource, not a punishment. But if you want to have your child come to school after school from 3:20 to 4:20, Monday through Thursday most weeks, there are teachers present to help kind of with goal setting and content assistance, help students get their homework done in a supportive setting, which is part of our MTSS work. Multi-tiered systems of support is a way in which we help to identify learners at all ends of the spectrum and how we help them grow to their highest ability level in our school structure. Behavioral supports are present in many ways. We hold kids accountable for being safe, responsible, respectful, and inclusive. We do it in a restorative practice kind of way. So we don't want to just, discipline kids in a punitive fashion. We want to have learning opportunities. So if we have two kids in conflict, we'll usually bring them together to have conversations. If things are serious enough, we might bring in our school resource officer for conversations, but that would always involve a parental conversation if we were to do that side of things. So a school resource officer is a great resource for us. We love Officer Davis. He's a great presence in our building, but that would not be used for behavior unless you and I had a conversation that we wanted to use that for a growth tool for considering the impact of our actions in school. We have many kids who do amazing things here. We have something called Caught Being Awesomes for kids who do awesome things in school, and kids get them by many numbers for the things they do in our building. We honor those kids also with Student of the Month breakfasts, where we, in the past and hopefully in the future, welcome parents as well to the celebrations. We honor kids for being, great learners of being self-aware and being respectful and being kind and being inclusive. And we honor that on a monthly basis with breakfast in the cafeteria with parents invited. We also will ask kids who are showing those skills as part of our student advisory board. We want kids who want to build a safe, responsible, respectful inclusive community to be part of our building and help us plan events to make all kids feel welcomed here. And we want to make them part of our community to help us make the best place that we can be for all 800 kids in our building on a daily basis. A big thing nowadays we hear about it is, social emotional support, mental health support. How do we help all learners with that? We have 3 social workers on staff, 1 for each team. We have 2 psychologists. We have, therapists in speech, OT, PT, with LBSs for special ed students. We do a lot of work to identify our learners who need mental health support. We have quarterly check-in surveys. We have weekly kind of, analysis with our social work and psychology team, just to identify what kids need our support to feel included and valued in our community. Truth be told, we have great reports here of kids feeling included and welcomed and honored in our building. Our numbers are so high in those areas, but obviously our goal is 100%. And 100% is usually a goal that's very hard to reach, but it doesn't mean it's not something we don't strive for. We want every kid to feel included here and feel that they belong, that they're welcome, that they are seen and heard and respected and honored by those who work with them. And if you feel like your child's not being seen that way, we are all here to support you. And we try our best to identify those kids in a variety of ways to help them identify what they need so we can help them feel like they're part of our community. I think we all know what we see in our world that people need to feel community right now. There's a lot of separation. There's a lot of disconnects in this world where we're so tech oriented and tech connected, but we're so impersonally connected. So it's a big focus of mine and Miss Dominique and our school staff to make our children feel connected. And most especially a great time for that is in transition from 6th to 7th grade, because we're all starting new and we're all starting fresh in these homerooms. So it's important that we work even more so than math or science or social studies class or anything you want to name content wise. Important that we make sure your child feels welcomed, respected, included, and part of a community here. And that's my foremost goal in this work that we have. Parents, you are a massive part of our work, and the PTO is an amazing part of what we do in the school building. You can visit their website at wjhspto.com for more details about how to get involved with their work. We have had some challenges with COVID of doing some things like field trips and speakers and those kind of things that get our kids in the community to experience learning in a more hands-on fashion. But the PTO has still been amazing even in COVID times. You'll see next year, hopefully when you're here, or your kids are here, the PTO spent a ton of money transforming our gardens to build 2 classroom communities within the school setting that are just fantastic. Adirondack chairs and walkways and ways for kids to experience kind of nice outdoor settings in a way that wasn't overgrown with lush gardens and things that were getting in the way of being outdoors with their peers. So the PTO really led that up for us last year. They're this year helping us with the graduation party for 8th graders. They're considering different social events for both grades to make it feel like they're part of this community outside of the school day. They help us with clubs, with yearbook, A lot of parents want a directory of what homerooms their kids are in and phone numbers of parents. That's all PTO driven. So if you want to know those things, the best way to do it is go to the PTO website or go to their Facebook page, and you can know kind of how to be part of their work to help them partner with us, make this a great place in our school community. One way to especially do that is through the Ignite Fund. So if you feel like you have a life that makes you not be able to be in our school setting, so you can't volunteer as a team parent or in the cafeteria if we get back to that time, or in the garden community, that's totally fine. Obviously, people have busy lives and can't do everything. The Ignite Fund is a way that you can provide your monetary support to help us do things that enrich our student learning outside of what the district or school can pay for. We also have quarterly PTO meetings that Ms. Dominique attends. I attend at times as well, that the PTO runs and help us kind of focus on topics that drive our work forward in a way that makes us really a partnership between parents and teachers and administration, so that what we're doing is not a separation of home life for you. It's an extension of your work at home to help your child be educated in the community as the way you and we see fit at our school. Almost done here with our presentation. I know there are some questions waiting for me in the Q&A session. Again, we have like 2 slides to go. If you have questions in the Q&A setting, by all means, at the bottom of your screen, you see a little Q button. You can hit the little Q button, put type of question in there. We'll get there very soon to answer questions in the presentation. So we have, again, our goal is to make the transition for your child great from Highcrest to our school. We call it a 5A campus because we are truly aligned in practices from Highcrest to WJHS. But we know it's different. It's a different building. Different adults are here, different administration. I'm not Ms. Carlson, Mr. Jackson, not Ms. Dominique. Things are all different here. So we want to make sure that they feel that they are part of this community from day one. We use orientation and open day events to help students feel part of the school. We want to help, create new friendships across the community. A lot of you made in your input forms requests for friendships. We want to honor that as best we can, but it's also important to know the fact that this is a big school. We want to help bridge those gaps beyond those kids who they're friends with currently. Adolescence is a time where friendships evolve. And sometimes friends who've been friends for 4 or 5 years just dissolve naturally through no fault of any child that occurs. We want to make sure that kids feel like they have numerous people in their community, in their homeroom, in their team, in their classes that they feel connected to. So if things are changing for them, they feel supported and assisted in that process, so that they don't feel like one person is their sole advocate in this building, but they have many people who can help them with that. And that's our goal, to do that, to cultivate many relationships so kids feel like they're part of the community. So at this point, I am going to pause, but I'm going to also put this here as well. If you have questions outside of today's Zoom conversation, by all means, you can email myself or Ms. Dominique about those presentations. If it's 7th grade exclusively, send it my direction. If it's scheduler placement, send it my direction. If it's more school environment, school mission, school vision, that's more Miss Dominique kind of conversation. Obviously, I'm here to support that, but by all means, kind of go that direction for her. Let me pause my audio because the vacuum's going on in the background, and I'll come back in a second with the Q&A session. I apologize for that. Our cleaning crew is a great staff here, and they work for all the hours of the day, even 8:15 at night, to help us with our building being nice and clean for our students and our staff. So Ms. Dominique has rejoined us for the Q&A session. So we are both here to kind of answer those questions. Let me pull some up right now on my screen so we can go through there. Our first question is about, if my child has an IEP, do I need to do the placement process, or is that something the school recommends? Great question. We actually had our first meeting today with our staff to go through IEP placement. Our LBS staff does an amazing job with that, to place kids appropriately with their courses. So obviously your feedback is still valued in that work. If you want, certain environments, certain peer relationships, certain things, we do our best to request that and honor that. But obviously, we will place educational needs above any other requests, but if they can mirror in concert, we want to do that. So please know that if you want to put in a request for placement, you can do so, but we will kind of try to mirror the two together in our work. Question about what do instructional materials in PowerSchool include? Is EduKits separate? EduKits for school supplies is separate. EduKits handles kind of your materials for binders and paper and pens and calculators, those kinds of things. Instructional materials is iPad fee, books for class, not textbooks, but like, a novel or two for classes. So that's more of like instructional things that are used for content curricula or technology. EduKits is more your school supplies. You'd buy at Staples, etc. It's just brought to school from EduKits. Is there an additional meeting for parents of children with IEPs? There's no additional meeting for that. I would say if you have questions about your child's certain needs for an IEP, email me. Either I'll reach out to you or our coordinator for student services, Ms. Freeze, reach out to you. Ms. Freeze, I can help with transition from Highcrest to the WJHS. We work super closely with Highcrest on all student profiles and student kind of, backgrounds for placement, but especially with our IEPs, we do that even more so. So do know that we're working closely on those matters. But if you have questions about that, reach out. I'm happy to kind of have questions with you more and conversation to help with that. Question about wrestling. Is wrestling open to girls as well? Dominique, is that answer yes?
I believe that answer is yes, but I actually saw that question and I reached out to Mr. Harper just to confirm. But yes, I believe that our sports are open to wrestling and track. There are some sports that are open to everyone, and then there are some that are gender specific, such as boys basketball or girls volleyball.
And I believe also soccer is co-ed as well. Yeah, you're right. There are co-ed sports and single gender sports. So that's a good question. And we have an AD on staff, Mr. Paul Harper. So obviously we emailed him today, but if you want to go to the website, there's an athletics tab, the tab right there. It'll say Paul Harper. You can email him with any sports questions you have, and he can do a great job answering those questions in timely fashion. Do core classes have advanced levels to them? Only in our building does math have differing levels. We have new Trier math, which is a grade level above mathematics. And we have an advanced math class and general education math support. Otherwise, we do our classes, we differentiate in the content area. So i.e. in reading class, we differentiate by small groupings, instruction to pair kids with those who might challenge them and also teach them ways to challenge learners all in the spectrum. We don't believe in tracking in every course we have here. It's important that we learn to differentiate instruction and learn it with a variety of learners in our setting to help us grow as individuals as we go to high school and beyond. Question about LGBTQ plus groups, Ms. Dominique. You want to take that one? Do we have those groups here?
Yes, so we actually, using some of our ESSER funds from the state this year, we started several additional clubs, and we do have a Pride Club, and it is with a focus on students who just want to be inclusive, and that includes our LGBTQ population. We also had I received another question about there's a club at Highcrest this year that was entitled, I'm trying to find that here, Shades of Highcrest. And so we did attempt to have an affinity club, a Students of Color club earlier this year. And after a couple of months of not having much of a turnout, we decided to kind of regroup and try to get that club up and going again next year. So we definitely have clubs that, as Mr. Diesel, talked very specifically about in his presentation, we want to help students feel included and give them a safe space to gather with people and discuss who they are.
Thank you. Some bell schedule questions. Our bell schedule is 8:25 to 3:10. We have 4-minute passing periods between the building. That is, we have found sufficient time to go from point A to point B across classes. And again, if you want to know more about bell schedule, the website has daily breakdowns of bell schedule if you want to see it day by day on the web page. So foreign language, we roll over language from Highcrest to WJHS. So the language that they're currently in is the language that they take in 7th grade. Should that be something that you want to discuss, I'm open to the conversation, but it would take a significant reason for us to change a language from 6th grade to 7th grade. I see a question about binders being required for next year. As part of the EduKit supplies, there are binders as part of the process. So teachers do request that students have them. I wouldn't say it's a firm requirement. I think it's an advised tool to help organize papers or pass out in classes across the day. We do still have classes that use paper. Obviously, paper is a medium just as technology is. So we want to help kids know how to organize themselves with technology as well as paper, and binders do help with that. Typical class size at our building, that's a good question. In the core team classes, social studies, science, math, reading, and writing, they average about 22 to 24 learners in a class setting. That obviously can vary based on the period. In the arts, PE, language classes, that can be at about 25 to 27. It's all based on the period that the child's in and how schedule operates, but we do really believe in having a setting that is, 28 learners and under. We believe in having groups that are not too big, but also not too small. You want to have a balance where learners have opportunities to learn from their peers, hear different ideas, and so you want to avoid being too small as well. So we kind of work in that 20-ish range, and it varies based on kind of how the classes flow based on scheduling needs throughout the day. Student advisory board, that's a great question, and something that we really want to get back to more in our post-pandemic era. I say post in quotes, obviously, if this ever ends, but hopefully it will someday. Student advisory board is a way that we can bring students into advising us as administrators on what the school should be doing. From topics kind of more jovial as, weekly themes of, what we should wear, pajama day, beach day, color day, etc., to more meaning, like deep topics, like, we're all aware of how students may feel not included. How do we help students feel more included? And you as 12-year-olds help us understand that. There are many things we as adults can think we know about kids, but we're not kids. And so the best part about student advisory board is that those students can truly be a sounding board for us, that we're saying, we're thinking this, what do you think? Or they can say, we're thinking this, what do you think? And ultimately, that's the best place for ideas, when kids come to us saying, we want this at our building, help us as adults to make it happen. So truly, an advisory board is that they advise us on how to run the school, and students who show that they are ready for the opportunity, we want to be part of that work at our school community. Question about NutriMath. NutriMath is run by Nutrier. So if there's questions about how to get a NutriMath or assessments for that, that's a question for those who run NutriMath. If you need help with that name, I can provide it for you offline. Email me and I'll send it to you. But NutriMath, honestly, they give me names who's in the program, and I take those names and place them and organize it for them. I don't operate who's in that class or not. So, but I can help you connect with that if you would need to. Okay. So if you have questions about the placement test or why the child got in or not into it, I can be a resource for you, but I'm not the answer person for that class. There's a question about balancing AS class and Spanish. I'd say it's more of a personal question to your child's IEP. So shoot me a note, we'll work through it. A child can be in AS class and language. It would involve not being using creative arts class then. But shoot me a note about your child's needs, and I'm happy to work with that on an offline basis away from this webinar to work through with that. Aside from clubs, are there other things after school we offer? There are many things that we obviously try to offer, and Ms. Dominique mentioned some of those things that we have with ESSER funds, which were state funds we had for things to kind of social emotional learning and community. We have homework club, which is a drop-in place for students. We have certain outside organizations come in and run things as well. We are looking to do more things to connect kids together with differing identities and pursuits and interests. But obviously also that's an area where you in PTO can help us. If there's an area where you feel like there's a need and there are kids who want to be part of it and a parent wants to support it, help us to do that. and we can partner together to make those things more part of our community. Question about educates and supplies. If you feel like you did not get the email about educates, you can go to the PTO website and they can help you with that. Literally, it says email supplies@wjhspto.com. If you can't find that on the PTO webpage, email me and I'll connect you with that person to help you with that resource. I know that supplies being ordered by June 3rd, so you're not too late in the game, but you want to act on it now if you have a question on school supplies to get that done for the fall. And a question about musical theater. We have theater programs in our creative arts rotations. We have had in the past a performance in a show that has occurred in the spring. That's to be determined if it happens again next school year. But we certainly have ways that kids are part of the theater program in the school setting day. And obviously we want to build more of that into our outside of school opportunities, provided we can have staff and parents who can help support that for our learners. And I believe that's the questions I see. Any last call for questions in the Q&A? I want this to be a meaningful time for you. You have your child's principal and AP for next year present for you. Ready to answer any questions you might have. While we wait though, I'll just kind of say one last thing though. Obviously you have on the screen our email addresses and our phone numbers. Please reach out to us with questions about your child, what he or she needs for next year, or about our programming, etc. We are here to support you. If we're slow in responding, please don't, it's not personal, and the school year is very busy. So we're trying to finish this school year and get it ready for next school year. But do know that we get all requests. We'll look back to you as soon as we can to have a phone call or an email or conversation about what you need for next school year. So there are no more questions. I think I'm going to kind of pause the webinar for tonight and say thank you for being here. Ms. Dominique, you want to say goodbye to everyone who joined us this evening?
Thank you everyone for reaching out. We really appreciate it. As Mr. Dees shared, there are so many links with so much information. And so we encourage you to check out our website. If you have questions about specific programs, that is a great resource. If you have questions about athletics, please check out the athletics website. If you have questions about things like some of our after school clubs or the Educates, the WJHS PTO website is just all kinds of information on there. So you are always welcome to reach out to us, but we also encourage you to check out the website and our PTO partner website and let us know how else we can support you. We're really excited to meet your children and to meet all of you, hopefully in person.
Absolutely. And lastly, if you love this show so much you want to watch it again, it's being recorded, put on YouTube after the session tonight. It'll be posted probably tomorrow at some point. So if you want to see something again or show it to your child or show it to your partner, spouse, whomever, about what's happening at school, feel free to go to our D39 YouTube page and you'll see the presentation presented there. You can watch it again should you want to do so. Again, for Ms. Dominique and myself, thanks for being here. We look forward to seeing your child in August. Have a wonderful evening, a wonderful summer, and we look forward to seeing you in the months ahead. Take care, everyone.